Hey boomers, I see you're big mad up in my comments because I had the audacity to stitch one of your peers, holding him accountable for something he said. Because if there's one thing boomers hate, it's accountability. And the same rote cliche is true over and over again. You always say, oh, millennials and Gen Z, they're the problem. Lest I remind you that most people my age have only been alive long enough for 2 or 3 voting cycles, and a lot of Gen Z has never voted before. Just as a gentle reminder, boomers, the reason that millennials and Gen Z are upset with your generation is because when I look at politicians and all the legislation that you guys created from the mid 60s to like really the mid 90s, you guys really fucked up pretty bad. Oh, you'd like to know how you fucked up the United States? Well, as a man with 2 dicks might say, where would you like to start? One of the things that boomers like to do most is take credit for things that their parents did. Remember, it was their parents, the greatest generation, that got through the Depression, fought in World War II, and then delivered the United States into the greatest era of economic prosperity that our country has ever known in the late 40s, 50s, and early 1960s. Remember, baby boomers were born in 1945 at the earliest, which means that you weren't voting until at least 1963. Because it really is when you started voting that you really just ruined America. Now, don't get me wrong, I am the YOLO generation. Shout out to Drizzy Drake. But what I would like to say is that I do like to plan for the future as well, something that your generation clearly never did. The economic prosperity that you experienced in your childhood and teen and then early adult years was because your parents introduced the highest progressive tax rates on America's wealthiest people. That's why we were able to afford things like Eisenhower's 50-state freeway program and all the port improvements, all the amazing public colleges and universities, public schools that had literally every amenity. Taxes on the wealthiest Americans paid for that. And then something funny happened. Y'all motherfuckers elected Ronald Reagan and said, hey, you know what? Let's just let rich people fucking run this place. So the highest progressive tax rates actually went from 91% down to what they are today, 37%. You neglected American manufacturing and production to the point where we now have an entire area of the country called the Rust Belt because it went away. It literally rusted away. And so now, spare me as you live from your big mansions that are tacky and poorly built and your C6 Corvettes as you sit at Cars and Coffee and lament at how terrible millennials and Gen Z are because, oh, we might want to be able to afford a college education or a house. Look at all the politicians that are currently in office that look like you who are now saying we might need to make Social Security year to year because even though you're pulling Social Security benefits, you want to make sure my generation doesn't have it because you're a bunch of selfish assholes.